Spring ball is in full swing for the Michigan Wolverines, and finally we are going to give it back to you, the people. And that's because we haven't done a mailbag in a couple weeks, and we've had plenty of press conferences, plenty of things have happened. So therefore, let's get to your questions on this episode of the Michigan Mailbag as it returns on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday. We are back and doing a Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire. Through USA Today Sports Media Group, should be mobile, ready to go. Got a new battery in the car, ready to hit the road to Ann Arbor tomorrow, the 40-minute drive south to my birthplace. Anyway, let's get to it, right to it. With the leaders and best, starting with James Crudup at James Crudup 6. Given the staff's misevaluation of talent and depth at some of the positions last year, on a scale from 1 to 10, what's your confidence in the staff's ability to evaluate the roster, 10 being most confident? I don't think they fully misevaluated. I think they knew. I remember talking after the spring game to a name that 75 to 95% of you know. And they were like very concerned about where they were with the quarterback room, wide receiver room. They just thought that it was still like the running game, and that they thought that what they had was good enough to be able to bridge that. I don't think they misevaluated kind of the rest. But as far as the ability to evaluate the roster, I think it's a good 8.5. I think they're good at being able to tell what they've got. Do I think that they were a little too bullish on Davis Warren? Yes. Here's the thing, though. It's like you could see by the end of the year, even though he still wasn't throwing for a lot of yards, that he had, what Davis Warren had. It's one of those things where I think like surrounded by a better team, like a 2021 version of Michigan. Like, I don't know that Davis Warren is that far off from 2021 Cade McNamara. He just didn't have the horses around him to necessarily do it. Like, because everything offensively was worse. It wasn't just the quarterback. It was the receivers. It was the running backs. It was the offensive line. Tight end was the only kind of push, right? Because you brought back Colston Loveland. And the offensive coordinator. No offense to Kirk Campbell. Love you, man, but didn't go well. So I think, though, like if you dropped them in the middle of a team that just has a little bit better talent, that had like a Blake Corum, that had an offensive line that ended up going on to win the Joe Moore Award, it would have been a little bit different. But I think that also part of it, too, is the fact that you have a staff that's trying to do things for the first time, as, Sherrone Moore's first year, all of that kind of stuff. And just trying to get their feet wet, trying to understand. And then you had a schedule that was just loaded, right? Like, I think if you had a schedule more like this year or like 22 or 23, it would have been a much different story, just because they would have kind of had some ability to kind of play around with some things. And they didn't have that luxury last year with Texas in week 2, USC in week 4, Washington in week 6. Then you got November with Oregon, better than expected Indiana, and Ohio State. I think that was just a perfect storm for a not great year, and then still they beat Ohio State and Alabama, and it kind of worked out. Josh Barr, Jadicki, non-Bryce question. Well, funny enough, it'll take us all of one to get the Bryce, but still. Based on early rumblings from spring ball, who do you think the team leaders will be for rushing yards and touchdowns, receiving yards and touchdowns, tackles, sacks, and interceptions? All right. So rushing yards and touchdowns, I'll say Justice Haynes for both. Receiving yards and touchdowns, I think someone not on the roster. Tackles, I'll go with Ernest Hausman. Sacks, I'll go with TJ Guy. Interceptions, that one's a little harder, because there's not like a clear guy. Like, I'll go Rod Moore. I think Rod Moore will end up being that guy. My brother in metal, Michael Wolf at MWolf21. How much can the presence of Bryce increase the focus and excitement of the team? I mean, honestly, I think you kind of saw it from the moment he committed. Like, suddenly there was like an enthusiasm that didn't exist before Bryce came. Like, I don't know that I know this sounds weird. I don't know that they go and absolutely destroy Northwestern the way they did without Bryce committing. I think that just gave an air of like, I don't know, optimism to the program that it didn't have before. I mean, they haven't lost a game since Bryce Underwood committed, even though he hasn't seen the field yet. I just think that kind of gave them like this feeling of like all is not lost, and now we're really playing for each other, and now we're playing for next year and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that it does, especially because he's getting a lot of those first team reps. That's doing a lot to, I think, galvanize the team in terms of now the players are getting used to him being in the huddle and him leading the charge. And I think that really does add to everything. And I don't think that that's something that you can fake, right? Like, it'd be one thing if it was like, late in fall camp, he's finally starting to kind of get those reps, but he's getting them now. So that's the other part where Mikey Keene's at a significant disadvantage, because now he just can't win the team over the way that Bryce can at the moment. Jimmy Whitner at Jimmy Whitner 1. Who do you think will be our leading receiver, and will they have 1,000 yards? Again, that I don't think that it's someone on the roster. I'll say no for now. I think that it'll be in part because there will be spreading it out a little bit more. I don't think there's just going to be one go-to guy. It's been a long time since 1,000-yard receiver. Number 2, will we have 2,000-yard rushers this season? I'll go with yes. Yeah, I'll go with yes. I think they will. I think that's a formidable 1-2 punch with Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall. I think that they'll get there. They've gotten there before. I think that they'll get there again. KRT at Farmer 84. What are your predictions for this next recruiting class under Sherrone? Is top 5 realistic with continued NIL support? I don't know about top 5. I mean, I think they'll have the NIL support. It just kind of seems like, unless like some of the rankings change for a lot of the players they're in on. I mean, you look at guys like JZL Hart, who's like a 3-star, even though he's got like the biggest, biggest offers. People are like really looking for him. Now, that said, I think they'll get 3 5-stars in this class. Could I tell you exactly who? No, I mean, Savion Hyder, it's pretty, I think that's a safe bet. I think they'll get an offensive lineman. I think Jackson Cantwell probably. They'll probably end up getting him. I think that'll be the big NIL splash along with Hyder. And then maybe it's Ryder Lyons, maybe it's a John Turntine. But then I'm not sure about the rest of the class. But we'll see. I mean, there's so much time, and rankings will change. There will be guys who were 4-stars, they'll be 5-stars. Guys that'll be 5-stars, they'll be 4-stars, so on and so forth. So I think it'll be a top 10. I don't know about top 5. That's kind of hard to predict still. But this is where they need to really get like a top flight receiver. That was where it was disappointing to see Tristan Keys go to LSU, because it's like, you got Bryce. Now it's time to get him some guys, right? And I know there's other guys that they're in on, but you would like to see something kind of come together there. Spencer Whitmore at Spencer Whitmore, finishing us out in segment 1. How much are you expecting them to show during the spring game? I mean, very little. There's no reason to show a lot. Like, they'll show some things. There'll be like 1 or 2 things, but I think the spring game is just more about running kind of your base stuff. I mean, there's not going to be anything that you're going to be wowed by. That's just typical. All right, we got plenty more to get to. Let's try to get to it all within a half hour. Let's see if we can do that. But we're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, daylight savings snuck up it snuck up on me so much that I still can't speak. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, like I'm sure you will do this weekend, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching all the tournament action. 5-Hour Energy helps me keep up the next day. And with longer days, I do love getting outside to walk Zuri, and Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost. So head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 or 24 pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Well, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're absolutely everywhere, so stock up today and stay energized. That was among one of the faster times we've gotten through the leaders and best. I feel like I always take like 5 minutes to answer James Crudup's question every single week. I didn't do it this time. Before we get to the Victor's Valiant, it's always funny when I do read the comments. I don't always, I used to not read any of your comments on YouTube because it was just, especially during like the Connor Stallion saga, because it was like, there's a lot of negativity there, and there's just no point in just seeing a lot of negativity, right? Like, I have to do this every day. But I looked, and it was kind of funny. A couple days ago, someone said I have great hair, and I thought that was really nice. And then, pride came before the fall for me, right? Like, that's just kind of a lesson you learn. Because then yesterday I had people saying that I'm using beard and hair dye. I assure you, you might not be able to see it on camera, but I've got a lot of grays all through here. I've got like what looks like gleam is actually it's not the lighting, it's actually gray hairs up against my black hair. Listen, I'm 43 years old. I don't have like why would you expect me to have like a full head of white hair? I don't know. I just started getting gray hairs like not too long ago. But then you get the people that complain about the hat. Jesus is king. Listen, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's actually my drive in life. So commenting on it isn't going to stop it. It's actually probably more likely that I'm going to share the word of God, because that's the thing that matters to me most in this world is Jesus Christ. Behind that is Michigan football. So we'll talk about that. Get back to it. Edwin Simmons at Simmons_Edwin. Happy Thursday, my brother in Christ. Praying for Tyler Morris, injured in practice, out for the season. Yeah, that's brutal for him, absolutely. Especially because he tore his ACL in high school. Do you believe Michigan has a chance to go undefeated this year? Believe it or not, yes, I do. I was talking with both Steve Dace and Connor about this the other day. The schedule is amenable. You get past Oklahoma and Nebraska, theoretically, there's not another team that you're going to be an underdog to until Ohio State. And Michigan's beaten Ohio State each of the last 4 years. I think the schedule, a better offense, if the defense can pick up where it left off. The only thing about the schedule is the home away of it all. The fact that they don't have 2 home games in a row. They have 2 away games in the row right before the Ohio State game, but not 2 home games in a row. That kind of isn't that great, but at least they have a couple games where they can get Bryce primed. Week 1, week 3, a little bit easier of a schedule in terms of that. It's better having New Mexico and Central Michigan compared to Fresno State and Arkansas State, 2 kind of teams you just really kind of don't want to see out of those group of 5. So I think it's possible, absolutely. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they'll lose 1 or 2 along the way, but I think it's absolutely possible. Chubbs GB, I talk with Chubbs. What's up, my guy? Hope all is well. Do you see Harbaugh drafting another Wolverine this year? If so, which player can you see him taking? I think that if Kenneth Grant somehow falls into his lap, I mean, that's a no-brainer, but I've seen a couple mocks with Colston Loveland being that guy. I mean, he doesn't have that shoe-in tight end. I kind of thought Brock Bowers was going to be that pick last year, didn't end up going to the Raiders. But I think that Colston Loveland, I mean, yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh this time is going to look and be like, well, I got to take one of these Wolverines if I can, right? These are some high-end guys. You know, to have four guys who could go in the first round, I just think it's, yeah. I mean, they pick in the 20s. Can't remember where, like 22 or something like that. Maybe as low as 25. Adam Casel at Adam_Casel. You think the offense will play at a faster tempo? It doesn't seem very complimentary like Moore learned from Harbaugh. Is that allowing Lindsey to decide that or something Moore wants to do? Here's the thing. That's why I kind of did the whole show yesterday out on saying, like, I'd like to hear more high flying than fast paced. Fast paced doesn't, I don't think, when you're hearing it from a player, I don't necessarily think that means they're doing tempo. Now, I'd love to see some stretches of tempo, but in terms of overall play, no, I think Michigan will still be a huddle team. Will they huddle and then kind of go tempo after that just to kind of catch the defense off guard, right? Like the cat and mouse game that Connor likes to talk about. I think that could be a part of it. Do I think that they'll become like a team that like is trying to like play hurry up all the time? No, I don't think so. Clark at Blue for Life 8. Did Keene sustain an injury prior to committing to Michigan, or did this happen at practice? Honestly, have no idea. All I just know is that he is injured. No idea, to be honest. I'm not going to try to pretend. Jacob Shavaria at Shavaria. From what you've seen so far, is Bryce more elusive and shifty than Denard? I know I don't think he's as fast or shifty, but he is fast and he is shifty. Do you see Michigan ever bringing Denard back to help Bryce? I guess it depends on if he pays how they deem he's paid his penance, right? Like if he goes through some kind of program and has a year or 2, and I'd say more 2 than 1. It's possible. Blows my mind that Rick Pitino and Hugh Freeze can coach in college, but Denard can't. Bring him back. I mean, he made a big mistake, and you just can't be a leader of young men and make the type of mistake he made. I know, like, he's a fan favorite. I'm saying, like, have some grace and forgive him. But he shouldn't be in that locker room at the moment, given the DUI and the crash or whatever it was. I don't know if it was actually a crash, but just like sitting at a stoplight, asleep while drunk. I just don't. I think that's a terrible, terrible look. And if you're supposed to be someone that's leading young, impressionable men, you just can't have that. right now in the locker room, especially with Sherrone Moore's being a younger head coach. I think if this was like an older head coach that could just kind of, put him in some kind of, put him in the closet, essentially. I'm not talking Craig James's closet, but, actually it was the younger James. Who was the coach there at SMU at the time? Oh yeah, it was the Pirate, Mike Leach. I'm not saying to do that, but anyway, I digress. The Rican Raider at Hamstand87. What do you think are the main differences between Sherrone and Harbaugh and how they run the program? Also give Zuri a pet for me. I will. She's kind of mad at me today, by the way, because she had the full grooming experience. She got her nails trimmed for the first time in forever. I tried to do it. She won't let me. And then she had her ears cleaned, her teeth brushed, and got a bath. But she was like screaming bloody murder. If you can imagine a dog screaming, that's what she was doing. As far as the main differences between Sherrone and Harbaugh, I just think that Sherrone's a little more laid back in terms of like how they run the program. I think it's indifferent. It's essentially indistinguishable at this point, from what I can tell. Mark Z at Mark Zimke, what players on offense and defense do you think will be the Hutchinson and Corum comparisons as far as guy that leave it all on the field? I could see TJ Guy kind of having, I don't think he's going to have the production as Hutchinson, but I think TJ Guy is kind of that. Defensively, that might be kind of it. It's kind of not great. I could see Justice Haynes being that as a running back. Right now that's kind of it, but like Justice Haynes is kind of that leader type. I think TJ Guy certainly has that as well. So those will be the guys I'll go with for now. I'm not going to name a bunch of names and just say, I think that's good. Perry Mitchell 08, is another transfer QB a possibility since Keen has been practicing? A string transfer quarterback likely couldn't compete, but at this point, we'd almost just need some warm bodies in there before Chase Herbstreit winds up as QB3. Yeah, I mean, EJ Holland had a report saying that Michigan was looking at that. Yeah, I think that's probably true, but I mean, you got to bring in someone that just knows that they're not going to play. And so is someone going to transfer with that idea? Like, I guess you're maybe looking at a Tuttle, or maybe even like with Keen, where Keen's like, I want to coach. Someone that isn't trying to have a redemption story like Miller Moss was. You just need someone that maybe it's like they're at a place, they're like, I could use a change of scenery. And I'm fine with being maybe a guy that doesn't see the field at all this year, someone who's really interested in coaching. I think that's what you got to sell them on, is you're going to be QB3, essentially, potentially, but you're also going to be more so a player coach. Great Bambino X at Colossus Cloud X, with Mikey Keene being injured, it appears Bryce Underwood era is officially underway. What's a realistic stat line for him in year one, assuming he starts all 16 games? Winking face. Tim, should we expect big rushing numbers too? I can't tell on the latter because Michigan, like JJ, his rushing numbers were much less than I thought they would have been, especially after his freshman year. I think he'll maybe have like 300-400 yards, which is actually quite a lot for a Michigan quarterback. As far as passing, I'll go with 3,250, because as much as I'd love to say, like, especially if they did have 16 games, that they would break the John Navarre's record, 3,331, the single season record. I mean, I predicted every year it doesn't happen, so I'm going to go against it for the second straight year, and possibly be wrong at this point. DE Wolverine at KMOS_11. As of right now, what would be the average size and weight of the offensive line? I don't really know, because the spring roster doesn't have updated weights. I mean, I would say the average is probably 6'5", 315. But I don't know. We'll have to wait until fall camp starts. Mike Matthews finishing us out in segment 2 at Michigan Mike 7. Any news on Rodmore's rehab? Will he be ready for fall camp? Sherrone says he might be back this spring, certainly for summer conditioning. Has no concern about him for fall camp. That's about all we know as far as that's concerned. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more coming up, and we will get to them here in just a moment. But before we do, the NCAA tournament is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening now this weekend, there's always something exciting to bet on, and baseball has started, right? Tigers opening day tomorrow. The FanDuel app is simple and easy to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, we're on to the Blue Crew. We got three of the same question, basically. U of M Elite, Jeff Cross, Cam Clark, respectively. Hammer coming for MSU. Is Sparty going to get the hammer? They're going to have to vacate losses since they didn't have many wins. Hashtag cheaters. How big of a hammer will be dropped on MSU for their cheating? They're cheating! Bring that back. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny seeing how many MSU people are either saying it's a nothing burger or they're trying to find a way to blame Michigan. We don't know what it is, right? We don't know, like, as of right now, no one knows what this NCAA investigation's about. But that's kind of my point with the whole like rivalry thing and the glass houses. It's everyone's gonna get got at some point, right? And whether it's real or the NCAA is investigating something that isn't, right? Like everyone's gonna be under the microscope at some point. It appears like it's MSU's turn, and Ohio State probably be your turn again eventually. So maybe just like have a little grace. Don't make the rivalries all about these fever dreams and all of those types of things. Because again, like I know exactly what happened with the Connor Stallion stuff because I've talked to Connor extensively. Have I been able to get to the bottom of it? Yes, because there's been a lot of interrogating that's gone on there. Right? Like whenever there's been something that seemed like an obfuscation, we got to the bottom of it. But, people want to make it out into, a gambling ring and Matt Weiss is involved somehow and all of this stuff, right? It ends up being insane. So yeah, anyway. MBT at Maize and Blue True with Bryce likely being QB1 week 1. Does this change your outlook on the expectations for the season? God bless, brother. No, I think that, offensively, they were going to look kind of similar, whether it was Bryce or Mikey. Bryce getting to get in early or Mikey Keene being that guy. No, it doesn't really change anything, to be honest. For me, at least. It's Egg, actually. Rumor has it that we are winning the Natty again this year. Should Michigan do one of the Dublin games? Obviously, I ask this solely as a British Wolverines fan. Keep up the great work, mate. Hashtag go blue. Thank you very much. I think for a one-off, I would like that to go to Dublin. The person in me that does not like getting on planes for any reason probably wouldn't like having what would end up being the longest flight of my life. Outside of a couple flights where I've been just circling in the air, and that was thankfully before I had the flight anxiety that I currently have. But I had one day leaving LA we were supposed to connect in Dallas, and we ended up being in the air for like 15 hours. With a stop to refuel. It was just like insane. Thankfully, I wasn't like I am now where it's just like I can't even handle a flight to Orlando sometimes. But yeah, I'd like that as a one-off. Well, there was talk of an international game back in like 2017, and then it just kind of fizzled out. So I don't know. Muzzamill, at Muzzamill _15. Will the 2026 class eventually be better than 2025 class? I don't think so, even though I think that they're going to get the number one guy for a second straight year with Jackson Cantwell. Rugged Wolverine at Rugged Wolverine. What's the biggest need or area of depth for concern? Still wide receiver, and they're going to address that in the spring portal. Brett Miles at Brett with a very long name. With Keene going down, are we in serious trouble when it comes to QB depth? Maybe, but you just hope that you don't have to deal with that, I guess. Bill Anderson at B. Anderson W. Little rumor, Michigan is cutting the overall roster. I understand that there are 85 spots available via scholarship. The overall team numbers will be cut down to 105, reducing preferred walk-ons. True and reason. It's not a Michigan thing. It's not a rumor. It's 100% true. It's 105 scholarship spots, and it's an NCAA rule that's happening. Now, there's still a lack of clarity as to when it goes into effect, but yes, they will have to be 105 by the time you get to the season, and likely well before that. And it's nothing to do with Michigan. It's entirely to do with the revenue sharing and the NCAA. Ramez Herrick with the same name. What should we look for in the spring game in terms of, is this a real improvement versus wait and see if it will translate to the season? I'm not really anywhere to tell. Just players making plays, because it's not a ones versus twos or ones versus ones in the spring game. It's drafted, so you just look at individual performances, see if the players that you hope took a step forward look like they did. That's pretty much it. ZT Jones at @who_Zach Jones. What is Kendrick Bell's ceiling? What does he need to do to reach it? It's funny, we haven't talked about him a lot this offseason. We talked about him a lot last offseason. I think he was my inflection player. His ceiling, I think, could just be basically to be a very productive wide receiver, a guy that has like 500 yards, 600 yards in a year. Right? Like, I mean, it's kind of Donovan McCulley, but he's shorter than Donovan McCulley. But I haven't heard his name mentioned once this spring, so that I don't know. I don't know what he needs to do. I don't know where he's at as far as that's concerned. It's a little concerning, to be honest. And that's why I haven't really mentioned him much. APJ at APPJ248. With Keene being injured and Bryce and Jaden battling every day in spring, do you think Keene will realistically get a chance to earn that starting spot, or will those two overlap him for QB1 and QB2? I think that ship's sailing. Could he? I mean, he's still the most experienced guy. Yes, but like, Bryce is too talented. I think like to give a guy as talented as Bryce as many reps as he's getting in spring, you just kiss it goodbye at this point. That's my take on it. Terrence Kreisel at T Kreisel 20573 was the next player to commit. Bro, I have no idea. Especially when there's not like a bunch of guys that have like dates set, right? Like we got it. Like Michigan's going to get the bulk of its class in June and July. That's how they operate. So there's really no way to tell. Marty McRide at Marty McRide, who will be the leading receiver in your opinion, and who will lead the defense in tackles? I'm going to stand with what I said in segment 1, someone not on the roster. If I had to pick someone else, I'll go Donovan McCulley. And then as far as leading the defense in tackles, we'll go with Ernest Hausman. Charles Scott at Charles_Scott09. Status of Keene's injury, I have no idea. Just know that he's not practicing. Finishing us out is JG King at JG_King22. Is wide receiver Sincere Brown an option to add? Yeah, I mean, he got an offer. I think the big question is, because he's gotten a lot of offers, right? He's another 6'5" guy. He's got some pretty good tape, some really, good production. I think the question is will Michigan win that one out? I don't know. There's a lot of other schools that are involved. But would love to see I would love to see multiple 6'5" guys there. I think that's certainly a possibility, but he kind of blew up. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will be back on Friday to talk a bit. I think we're going to probably talk a bit about the secondary is going to be the plan. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.